Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, the Executive Director of Rock Solid Families.
And I'm Merle Hutchinson, President of Rock Solid Families. And we are excited to have you join us as we talk all things faith, family, and fitness. A special thanks to Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency for their support of Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community one family at a time.
Hi, welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Linda Hutchinson from Rock Solid Families, and we are excited about today's episode, honey, that we have special guests in the house.
Yes, we do. It's always good to bring guests in the house.
Yes.
Not that we get boring, but
No.
we get to spice it up.
Exactly.
We get to bounce ideas around other people, so that's always fun.
Yeah, we have Jon and Kelly Tisevich in the house, and we're going to be talking with them, so we're excited about that. But, hon, before we do, we got to thank our sponsors for their support of Rock Solid Radio.
Yeah, absolutely. So we would like to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency for coming alongside Rock Solid Radio. They have built a reputation and a business built on caring, listening, and protecting their customers. Mansfield Insurance Agency began in 1981 by Jim Mansfield and is dedicated to serving individuals and businesses in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. So for all your insurance needs, call Mansfield's at 800-230-3927.
Yes, we also want to thank Maxwell Construction. It was founded in 1988 by John Maxwell, and since that time, Maxwell has expanded to be one of the most recognized commercial construction companies in the area. And so whether it's a school, a hospital, restaurant, or apartment center, Maxwell Construction is able to meet your needs. So call them at 812-537-2200.
All right, so we've got a couple of announcements. By the time people actually hear this show, we will be active in our classes again.
Yes.
Back into our fitness classes. So our finishing classes they're started back up. I probably do want to remind people of the time change. So
Yes.
Our Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes are still 8 a.m., but our Tuesday, Thursday evening classes went from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. So they were going to start at 7 p.m. now, and then our Saturday mornings, baby, are going to be nothing but dads. So we're bringing all of our dads in, and we're going to do a Saturday morning from 8 to 9:30. 45-minute workout, 45-minute Bible study.
We'll have to get Jon in there. Strong day.
Yes. Pressure.
By the way,
early in the morning.
8 a.m. is going to be interesting for me. I haven't had to be on board and on game at 8 a.m. for a while, so this will be interesting. So we're excited about that. So June 1st, our fitness classes resume. So hun, let's talk about our special guest today.
Yes, let's do. So, first off, let's go ahead and welcome Jon and Kelly. Jon and Kelly, thanks for coming
So
in.
you say the last name.
Tisevich.
You guys should practice.
So you guys say it.
Tisevich.
You had to think, Kelly. I watched you. You thought.
To make sure I got it perfect.
Yeah. How many years have you been married, Kelly?
Why did they put me on the spot?
Oh, that's good.
This is how long you've had this
12.
name. 12 years.
12
Okay, there you go.
years.
Okay.
Yeah. 13 in July.
Yeah.
All right.
13 in
So for
July.
those who don't know Jon and Kelly, they are the new associate. Jon is the new associate senior pastor. Is that your title?
Well, senior associate pastor.
Senior associate pastor at Whitewater Crossing Christian Church in Cleves, Ohio. And so we are so excited about having Jon and Kelly here just to share a little bit of their story and their vision for what they see the church, where their goals are, of what they see God doing in their lives here in the tri-state area. So yeah, we're excited about that.
Yeah, so, and even though, Kelly, you didn't carry the title that Linda just stated, you feel the title, don't you?
Oh,
right?
of course. It's not, you
Package
don't hire
deal.
one person
That's
for
right.
this type of
That's
job.
right.
You hire
Yeah.
the spouse and the family. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and that's why I think it's great that both of you are willing to come in. One of the things that we really want to do on this show is we're all about families. We would like to take the opportunity to get to know you guys and your family, but also what drives you in the ministry, what drives you in the community, what makes your heart beat. So we'd like to go down that road, okay?
Sounds
so we've
good.
got some questions for you. All right. So let's just start simple here. So you guys just moved into the tri-state area here. Where did you come from?
I came from
Don't say like Mars or something.
My mother.
This is going to be a long show.
Yeah. Do you guys
invited him.
Are you guys able to edit?
Yeah, I'm going to be at the edit table for like 3 hours.
That's why we brought Kelly in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are from Canton, Ohio.
All right.
So hours south of Cleveland, if you're not familiar with there. So we both born and raised. John traveled from that area much more than I did, but that's where we're both from.
Okay.
Yeah, you were kind of spouting off before that you've been to all 50 states.
Listen, I wasn't spouting off.
Merle's still trying to do that by bike for
Kelly actually said I've been to 50.
Yeah, I know. That's
I
awesome.
didn't say.
That's awesome. What a neat accomplishment.
Yep.
We'll talk about that a little bit later. So tell us a little bit about growing up. So were you guys raised in Canton area, or where was home for you growing up?
So I was actually born in Massillon.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so if you're a football fan, you're
Yes.
familiar with Stark County football, Massillon Tigers, McKinley Bulldogs. I mean,
Paul Brown, for some of you that know,
There you go.
Cincinnati Bengals,
Yeah.
Paul Brown
Right.
Stadium. Well,
Yeah.
there's a Paul Brown Stadium in Massillon,
Right.
Oh.
because he came from
That's where it
there.
came from, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, we are well versed in Paul Brown lore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you both were raised in that area? Mm-hmm. Okay.
went to high school together.
We went to high school together.
Oh.
At
So,
Perry High School.
same grade?
Now I am older.
I like
Oh,
that.
John. Whoa, went for the older woman.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I'm wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually met during a production, a theater production.
Ooh.
So, Kelly, you were in theater as well.
I was backstage.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
No, I let him take the stage.
Yeah.
A supportive role, still now. So if you really want to know the truth, and I'll put
You
it
can
out there.
tune in some other time.
Oh, you want me to tell him how we met?
We'll just say we were working
We
backstage.
were working backstage.
We'll just let our minds go with that one.
There you
And
go.
he'll tell you this sad sob story someday that, we
Well, I said
dated
it. I
or
said it in my
went
sermon
steady.
last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in high
that-
school.
You
That's
dumped
right.
him or something.
I did.
Yeah, it didn't work
Yes.
out.
I
So,
did.
but it worked out.
Because she was older, more
know.
mature.
Well, she was
That's
looking
right.
for, in the old tale of the girl looking for the bad
I don't
boy.
know about all that.
Yeah. So
Well,
you
I have my
fit.
reasons.
Yeah.
I was not the bad boy.
No, not then.
I
Yeah.
turned into the bad boy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I know a little bit of the after story now. So you weren't.
Mr. Goody Two
Oh,
Shoes
I
in
was
high
goody
school.
two shoes.
Oh,
I was
wow.
golden
Me too,
child.
John. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, boring.
Although if
Let's
anybody
get-
is listening to this that went to high school with, they'd probably disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how about your family upbringings? Let's get into that a little bit. Being
Sure.
at Rock Solid Families here, we always like to get we feel like family impacts us not just in the day, but generationally. It just, and it's going to impact your children and their children and so on. And so, how about what kind of family upbringing did you guys have? Good and bad. And again, you share the amount of dirt that you want.
Sure,
It's up to you.
I'll start. Mine's a little cleaner and easier. I came from a pretty tight knit family. We're pretty much a Brady Bunch family.
loved Brady
Friday
Bunch.
nights, we're on the couch watching movies, eating popcorn, playing games, and it was an everyday thing. Really until we were out of the house, and so. My dad had a singular focus growing up. It was the cause, and didn't know what that meant growing up, but I do now, and it was us. It was I will do whatever it takes
Wow.
for the family. Sacrifices made. He was a one-income family. He was a school teacher, so we weren't making a lot of money. He taught in inner city schools, and so there were a lot of sacrifices made to make sure we still were able to go on vacations. Not extravagant, but we still got to travel, still got to see the world. We still got to have things that we wanted, not just what we needed. And so I grew up in a very tight-knit, with core values at the foundation, with everything but Jesus.
I was going to
Okay.
say, faith
Yeah.
was
So, unfortunately, when I was very young, maybe first grade, my parents were going to church. My dad, for a while, was actually on a path should he go to seminary, and so he was literally getting his master's in education, and then started to just feel a tug on his life. And they were going to a church, not going to beat up the Baptist, but it was a Baptist church, and they had some very interesting theology. But beyond that, the pastor had a wandering eye and wandering hands. Mm-hmm. And some of what he said from the pulpit and some of the things that he did outside of it, it wrecked their foundation of Christianity, because they themselves were new Christians.
Yeah.
They grew up in the 60s and experienced and enjoyed everything of the 60s and the 70s. Mm-hmm. And so they were new to faith, and then their first introduction to a faith leader was very toxic and unhealthy, and so they left. Yeah. And never went back.
By the way, Jon and I think we need to pause right there, because people who are listening out in Rock Solid Radio have had that same experience, and they have left the church. Mm-hmm. Like, their experience with people in the church have wrecked their relationship with the Lord, and I think we need to separate the fact of is that people are going to fail us. People are going to betray us.
People at every level of leadership.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. They're
That's
people.
Right. That's right.
But that's not God, and that's not what God wants for us. So, that experience
it speaks too, though, because of the immaturity of somebody coming into the faith, how fragile that is, and as a leader and as somebody who's trying to bring them along, you have to put your kid gloves on.
Be above reproach.
Yeah, right. So that's challenging.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my upbringing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to share some of yours?
Yeah, yours is the one with the dirt on it, from what Jon said.
I know, but I'll skim the surface for you.
You can tune in for part 2.
I did not have
That's the B-side.
The same experience. So my parents divorced. I was a year old. I do have one older brother. He is 5. And I really don't have, I would say, any sort of memories of my dad until I was about 8 or 9. I lived with my mom, my brother lived with my dad, and it was like shared parenting, whatever that means, custody battles, all that good stuff. I came to know my father in my younger years, 10, 11, 12, came to know who he was, spent every other weekend there, but lived with my mom primarily, and she, single mom, struggling to raise a family. She worked 2 to 3 jobs just to try to keep food on the table. And what I know now as a mom, I wish I knew then, to really understand that impact on her. Mm-hmm. And as a spoiled little brat, how I probably treated her and, asked for things that I really didn't need, but I wanted as a child. So I did form some sort of relationship with my father through my teenage years, but things kind of went south, you could say. And at the age of 15, my father actually disowned me. So it's funny because, you can't remember what you had for breakfast last week, but I can remember the day that I woke up and I went out to my front porch, and there was a box sitting on the front porch of all the things I ever gave my dad.
Oh, wow.
Like my pictures, things from school, cards you made, for birthdays, things like that, all sitting in this box with a letter. And the letter was actually from my dad, letting me know that I wasn't his daughter anymore.
Oh, wow.
At 15, it's so impressionable.
Absolutely.
And, there's no foundation of faith in my family, truly, that I understood. My mom, she grew up Catholic. And so for her, and what that example she showed to me was you go to Mass. And that's about it. And fine, and I'm not trying to beat, anything up, but that was the example for me. Yeah. She went somewhere on Sundays, and then she came back home, but there was not
a transformational relationship.
Right. Yeah, there wasn't a Jesus in our home.
Yeah.
And my father, I don't really think believed. I really don't know, because he never talked about it.
Wow.
So when things like that at 15, 16 happen to you, and you don't have something underneath you to fall back on. So that was really hard as a child for me. Yeah. Spend a lot of time in counseling, maybe places, coaching like this would have been great. Because you feel like it's your fault. Yeah. And what did you do? Because you don't have any worth now because somebody didn't want you.
Well, that was my next question is, how do you wrestle with that as a 15-year-old and then moving on as an adult? How does that impact you? It sounds like you've tried to work through that to see it isn't something about you.
Right. And that is the hardest thing to realize is it's not your side of the street to own. Yeah. That was his side. Yeah. And his own demons, their generational issues. What do you carry into what you understand about yourself, and how you want to be treated, and then how you want to treat your children and move forward. So I can only own what I could own on that side of the street, but it took a lot of years to figure that out.
Yeah, John, you grabbed the boundaries book off my shelf when you walked in our office door, and that is huge. It's all about boundaries and healthy, not allowing people to dump their garbage in your yard, and saying, I'm going to put these healthy parameters up to protect my heart, my life, my family, and not live that way that your father tried to pose on you.
So Kelly, did you so that took you up through like you're 15 years old or so. So did you turn into an angry, hurt, rebellious kid, or where did that go with you?
No, I mean, not probably moments of rebellion, but I think I did have some strong mentors in my life. There were people in the school system. I had coaches and teachers that were very helpful. But I think probably what happened is I became very independent. I became very driven. Was only going to rely on myself and nobody else. I didn't need anyone to help me. I didn't need anything from anyone else. I could do it myself. And as much as I think I developed some strong characteristics from that, I think that did not help my walk with Christ.
That's right.
The idea of a father, when the earthly one that I had here didn't want me, why would one that
I can't even see,
I can't touch, I can't feel, I can't hug,
Yeah.
well, why would he love me?
Right.
That is where I struggled the most to build that relationship then again with Jesus.
Yeah, and that we have seen is a huge direct correlation between people's relationship with Christ, God a Father who created them, and an earthly father.
Yeah.
So if you're listening out there in Rock Solid Radio and your relationship with your earthly father has not been the best, and you're still kind of wondering and trying to checking out this Jesus thing, just know that it can happen. There is a father who loves you, who's not going to reject you or disown you, that he loves you regardless of your past. And so that's hard. It's hard when you haven't seen that modeled at home, but it is possible.
Absolutely.
And it can fill in those gaps like you've never experienced before. So
Jon, I want to go back to you for a little bit. So, especially from the comparison to Kelly, you were living in the Brady Bunch world. Everything was going well. So, we know a little bit that it didn't stay that way. So, when did the rails start to go off? What happened there?
It was my senior year of high school. It was a year after Kelly dumped me. And so I was.
That wasn't the reason.
Right.
I am not owning that.
exactly. Boundaries.
Own your lane, Jon. Own your lane.
Exactly.
So, my senior year, we moved to the school district we were in when I was coming out of second grade. And so I had been there for 10 years. And, it was the first month we moved in, and I met our next door neighbor who ended up becoming my best friend for 10 years. And so it was my senior year, and I got home from school, and as normal, I dropped my bag off at home, and I'd go across the street, and I'd walk into the garage and head upstairs and get Jesse, and we'd go outside and play basketball. It was an everyday for 10 years, really, like almost every day, rain, snow, shine, like we were outside playing basketball. And so same thing, dropped my bag off at home, walked across the street, went into the garage, and then this time I found him, and he had committed suicide. And so, and that was the start of what just sent me down what ended up then being another 10 years of unraveling and processing through some really just ugliness that I didn't know how to grieve. I didn't know how to process. But it went from that to then, I think it was 6 months later, like the patriarch of our family, I come from a Russian family, and we are second generation. My grandfather he came over.
Russian.
And so, right?
Tisevich, that's why.
So that's why. And so he fell, hit his head, stroked, within hours was gone.
Oh, wow.
And so that rocked our family. And then it was a short time after that, then my uncle, same family, my dad's brother, he was found dead. And cause of death was he was poisoned, and
Wow.
and so in this very short window, there was these 3 deaths that I had no idea how to process, and it was and so it started unraveling, and from there I just started looking for opportunities to escape. So.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to go back for a second
Yeah.
to Jesse. I mean, you had a lot of time with Jesse. Did he give you any inclinations
No.
that things were that way?
No, he was a year older than me. He was in Kelly's class, and he wasn't, didn't like college.
Mm-hmm.
Never. He was a loner.
Mm-hmm.
But he was highly intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of fit the bill. He was that awkward, not geeky, but just highly intelligent, in his own world.
In his own head.
In his own head.
Yeah.
And so because of that, no one really knew what he was dealing with. And now I'll fast forward and then come back. What I now know with suicide and mental illness, and now being a huge advocate because of how these things have been intertwined in my own life, my own story, for decades now, is it is a sleeping giant.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not a one shoe fits all. This is what depression looks like, or this is what someone's on a path to suicide. This is what it's not.
Yeah.
And the sad thing about all of it was that nobody knew.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody saw it coming.
Yeah.
Coulda, it's the, shoulda, coulda, houlda. Whenever a suicide happens, it
Yeah.
leaves so many
Right.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for us, and for our family, for Jesse's family, Jesse's family is still hurting. To this day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still grappling with questions.
Yeah.
Trying to find a way to grieve. And I gotta say, I know for any of you listening that listen to my sermon, you've heard already some of this, but for those who haven't, it was only when I started to hang out and truly submit my life to Jesus where I actually started to truly find healing. Because I had tried everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But it was only in that, when Jesus was a part of that mix, that we actually found healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about the healing part, and you talk about the submitting, okay, so you were in that process of trying to heal, trying to figure it out after these 3 deaths, and there was no, at that point, really foundation in faith, and so you're searching, and is that where the drugs and alcohol and things like that come into play?
Yeah, so one of my escapes, I grew up playing sports and I was good at anything I kind of did, but I wasn't great. But I tripped and fell into theater, and I found out that was actually, there was some great in there. And so I excelled and very quickly in the world of theater, and I had an opportunity to go to New York right around this time, and when I'm dealing with these deaths. And so I escaped to New York. Not really to pursue theater as a career, because I didn't think that was a thing. I didn't think that was sustainable, let alone did I think I had the talent to do it. It was more of an escape.
Yeah.
And so I did. And I escaped to New York to find lots of opportunities that, for an unstable young man.
Adult,
You have the talent.
Yeah.
And,
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
well, thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. But it's a big city, and
It's
you
a
can
big
escape,
city with
and you
lots
can
of
be anonymous.
opportunities.
Yep. Yep.
And for someone who had no foundation, it was a recipe for disaster. So, and then to add into the mix, I didn't have the normal actor who goes to New York and struggles for 18 years and maybe gets a small break. Like, I was there for 3 months. and then I landed the lead role in a Broadway national tour. And so, on one hand, like, whoa, that's amazing. On the other hand, it was a setup.
Yeah.
And because what I then started to do was cope in success and try to fill the void that was in me with success, attention, fame, money, people, stuff. And I had everything that this world has to offer.
Yeah.
I had it at my fingertips.
So did you start to feel that emptiness from those 3 deaths that we talked about? Did you start to feel like those were being quenched? Like you were happy again?
So it was when you, on one of those days when it's really hot and you just can't drink enough water to actually feel like hydrated, that's the sensation of the idea was, if I hit that top rung on the ladder and ring the bell, then I will find peace and satisfaction inside of me.
Yeah.
Well, I hit that top rung and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, maybe if I find the right person, then that'll happen. Well, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, and all that it was exposing was there was only going to be one thing that could fill that void. But I didn't know that.
Yeah. Which is a perfect time, I think,
Segue
to really end our part 1 of this discussion, because I think that Jelly.
She
that
called
would be
you
Kelly.
Jelly.
It wouldn't be the first time, but it's been a while.
Jelly
but-
Kelly.
Kelly and Jon.
Jelly.
We can't edit, right? No, but I think this is a perfect place to kind of pause and stop here, because this is really what we're talking about with so many folks that walk in our doors, that they're trying everything to fill a void of pain and grief and worth and value, and we're really going to find that in one and one thing only. And so that's really where we want to stop and kind of go to our next part.
Right. So in our part 2, you definitely want to listen to this, because that's where we're going to really get into what Jon and Kelly finally started to find that did quench the thirst that Jon was speaking of. And so so we are going to wrap up part 1 here, and next week you're going to get part 2. So you better tune in if you really want to know
Tune in.
what the Jelly Kelly show is going to be about.
But you know what? If you are just listening this week and you're thinking, okay, what was in there for me? I hope that you see that, we are all broken people with a lot of stuff, and that God can do some amazing things. And that's what we're going to get to next week. So I hope you'll join us. But as we close, we want to again thank our sponsors for today's show. A huge thank you to Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency. Please let them know that you appreciate this programming and the difference it's making in your life. This is such an important show, hon, and I'm excited to have Jon and Kelly here, and we continue this conversation next week. But we hope you'll share it with your family and friends. And so for Merle and I, we just want to thank you for listening to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. For help or more information about what you've heard on today's show, contact us at rocksolidfamilies.org or call us at 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-ROCK. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsors, Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency. If you have questions you'd like answered on our show, or you want to chime in on something you heard, go to our Facebook page, Rock Solid Families. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, and for my husband Merle and I, thanks for tuning in to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time.